Right, hello lads and lasses, and welcome back to Boys Down Under, where today we're trying something new. We're going to be talking about two different topics in today's video rather than just one. So as you can tell by the title, we're talking about the situation regarding Liam Shaw and Osaze Uragidae, and as well as the Glasgow Derby ticket fan lockout, whatever you want to call it. Before we get into the video though, if you are enjoying my videos and enjoying the content I put out, leave a thumbs up, drop a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any other videos. I'll try and stay as consistent as possible. With school going back, I'm probably going to aim around a video every 2 days, except for when we have the matches, because I'll have the previews and the reviews. But without further ado, let's get into it. So the first topic is the careers of Liam Shaw and Osaze Uragidae. Now, Shaw arrived at Celtic during the Lennon era. He was signed to Celtic during the Lennon era. He was signed on a pre-contract agreement from struggling Sheffield Wednesday. And then Uragidae, he arrived 1 or 2 days after the appointment of Ange Postecoglou, also from Sheffield Wednesday. So I feel both signings, including Urhoghide'S, were made before Postecoglou's time here at Celtic. Now, neither have played an official game or made an official cap for Celtic in an official competition. They've both played in pre-season games against West Ham, but not in an actual Premiership Cup fixture or European match for Celtic as of yet. Now, it was clear from the outset, it was clear from pre-season even, that neither of these players were going to be consistent starters for Celtic. I think that's something we all agreed upon. And however, it's left a lot of questions that they haven't even made their debuts yet for Celtic. Now, both players, they don't have the ability yet required to play in an Ange Postecoglou system, or let alone they're not even up to the standard to play for Celtic, who are needing to win every single match they take part in. Now, before we take the heads off and we say they're not good enough, they should be sold immediately, should never have been signed before, they're project players. They're project players and they're future players. They both came from a team that got docked points and finished dead last in the championship. And so as I said earlier, they were never going to be instant starters for the Celtic team. We knew Liam Shaw was never going to take David Turnbull's position. We know Uragidae was never going to be the starter centre-back. It was something we accepted, but we didn't think was going to be as bad as this. Now, but to reinstate a case for them here, Uragidae is only 21 years old, and then Liam Shaw is a year younger at 20, and they've both pretty much just started their footballing careers, and they have just made the biggest move of their careers so far. The jump in terms of demand, both physically, mentally, in games and in training, has jumped astronomically from their move from Sheffield Wednesday to Celtic. Now, especially under Ange's system, they're going to be asked a lot of, especially in training, if they want to force themselves into this starting team. Now, we saw a report a couple months ago, maybe even less than that, but it was a report saying that the Celtics coaching staff were very disappointed in Urhoghide'S because his development was not going as planned. Apparently, players like Dane Murray and the B-side captain, Boson Lol, were both ahead of him in terms of development, and both were ahead of him in the pecking order if, the rest of our centre-backs left the club or got injured, if something drastic happened like that. Now, for sure, as I said earlier, he's playing in a position that if you cannot play to Ange's standards, the whole team will falter from it. The centre mid position, that's why players like David Turnbull, Tom Rogic, Callum McGregor, they're so crucial to the Celtic team's success because they get it. They understand what they have to do when they're playing in Ange's team, and they can play to those levels that Ange requires. And if you put someone in the middle of the heart and soul of the team who can't do that, well, the whole team's going to falter, and you can't be putting that pressure on a player such as Liam Shaw, who's only 20 and has only just came to Celtic. Now, despite them training with Celtic, they've been training with Celtic since their arrival with the first team. Their lack of game time is surely not doing them any good. I think that's something we can all agree on in terms of their development, because honestly, as a footballer, how much better can you get if you're only training? If you're not playing in game-like situations and games week in, week out for full 90 minutes, you're never going to develop as a footballer to the potential that you could reach. You'd only hit to a certain level, but you would not hit any further. And so I put a poll out yesterday. I'm sure, I think very few of you saw it. You can check it out in the community tab of my channel page, I guess you could say. But what I put out was a poll, and it was, what do we do with Osaze Uragidae and Liam Shaw? Do we loan him out for extra game time, or do we keep him training with Celtic to help develop their core key skills. Now, I was interested to hear what you guys had to say about the situation because we're all the fans, it's not just my decision. Now, at the time of recording this, 58 people voted, and the numbers were drastic. 78% of you thought, or 76% of you, thought that they should be loaned out for consistent game time, whereas 24% of you obviously thought, on the contrary, that they should stay with the Celtic team and be training under Ange. Now, while these numbers look very similar to Celtic's possession stats in matches nowadays, I have to agree with the majority because, like I said earlier, they are players for the future. Whether or not that be at Celtic or that be another club, they need game time in order to develop, and I think that's the most important thing. Regardless if they're going to be Celtic players in the future, they need to be developing as footballers for their own benefit, and I think maybe even a half-season loan from January to the end of the season will do them a world of good, and they will be in an environment where they'll be able to grow week in, week out, playing matches with players of similar quality levels, whether that may be back at Sheffield Wednesday in League One or another championship team, who knows? We'll have to wait and see what the club decides there. Now, into the second point of the video, and this is one that there's been a lot of news on recently, and it is the lockout of away supporters on the January 2nd Glasgow derby. Now, it started off with a fan forum with Parkhead bosses that Celtic were in fact going to lock out Rangers fans from the game at Celtic Park on New Year's, the day after New Year's. Now, as we all know, this is a reaction, or well, the reason Celtic are locking out Rangers fans are because Rangers actually locked out Celtic fans because we could not guarantee them 100% that they would be allowed tickets to our game, because at that point when they were asking, it was COVID. You weren't 100% sure what was going to happen. You can never be 100% sure when COVID is around, so Celtic could not give them 100% guarantee they would get seats. And so they blocked Celtic fans out of the grounds, and if you watch the Glasgow derby, you'll see it was just a whole ocean full of blue, I guess you could say. Now, when this occurred, when Rangers locked out the Celtic fans, it occurred during a time when COVID regulations were actually enforced, and there were red zone regulations in stadiums, which meant that the fact that Rangers locked out Celtic fans, they could claim it was because of COVID regulations, and then they would not be in a breach of the rules set out by the SPFL regarding letting in opposition fans. Now, the issue with this now is that those regulations and red zone stadium rules have been dropped, okay? So what it means is that if Celtic are going to lock out Rangers fans as planned on the January the 2nd, it means that Rangers actually have the right and they are able to challenge that decision and make an official complaint to the SPFL. Now, nothing has been confirmed yet. No spokesperson for Rangers has came out and said that they are going to challenge this decision. However, in my eyes, I do feel they will. I feel they'll try by all means to get their own supporters into Celtic Park to help, at the most minuscule amount, counter the absolute atmosphere that will be created by a rocking Celtic Park. And a lot of fans are saying that we should have been the bigger club and that we should be giving Rangers maybe 700 tickets and be the bigger club, be morally correct in this situation. Personally, I just disagree with that. I don't believe that. If we only got 0 tickets, then why should they get any tickets? Look, but that's just my take. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that, because I know a lot of you have different opinions. Together we're the fans of Celtic, and I think it's just a great way for me to understand you guys and see where you guys are coming from. Remember to explain it. Just don't abuse me for not wanting them here. But I think I'm not sure what's going to happen here, but I do certainly think Rangers will challenge it. I do think Celtic are in the right, though, for locking out Rangers supporters in the next derby. But as for after the derby and for the upcoming ones, because there's still at least 2 more after the January the 2nd, in terms of fans, then we'll have to wait and see, because I think by that point, COVID will be less. I don't think the regulations will come back in place, but it will be interesting to see the numbers that both clubs are giving to away fans, because back in the day, it used to be 7,000, then that got cut short. Celtic got cut short by Rangers, Celtic matched it, and now it's at 0. Hopefully it doesn't stay at 0. I do think after this whole, Mexican standoff, that fans should be allowed back in the opposition stadiums because it just adds to the atmosphere. Nonetheless, that is all from me. So remember to tell me what you guys think about this whole lockout process. I guess you could say in the comments below. Let me know what you think also about the Osaze, Urhoghide'S, and Liam Shaw debacle, conundrum, whatever you want to call it. Do we loan him out? Do we keep it? Who knows? You guys know the answers to that. Leave them in the comments below. But that is all from me. So until next time, hail, hail.